When I was 22, my husband lost his life to depression, lost his battle to depression.
I'm so sorry.
And so I was a widow, very, very young, and I didn't understand it. And everybody said to me, why didn't you see it coming? And as a survivor of somebody who has committed suicide, you think I should have seen all the signs, but I didn't see it. But I didn't understand how depression looked.
From the grit and the grind to successful minds, live from the entertainment capital of the world, your hosts, Jillian Batchelor and Daryl Hannah.
Hello, 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 you guys. Jillian Batchelor here and
Daryl Hannah
with Vegas Real Talk, and we're talking about all things in Las Vegas that are amazing and just things that everybody needs to know. I don't care if you're an entrepreneur, you're building a business, you're just career oriented, you're a single mom, you're a stay-at-home mom. Yeah, we don't care what it is. Yeah. We want to increase your life, and today we're doing that by bringing you Lindsey Paoli. And Lindsey is a former family and marriage therapist, and she transitioned into being a mindset coach. Is that right?
Mind performance coach.
Oh, mind performance. Okay.
Yeah.
Lindsey, tell us a little bit about you because we are so excited to have you on our show today.
Yeah, absolutely. So like you mentioned, I got my master's degree in marriage and family therapy in 2019 to become a therapist with great aspirations of helping the world. And then the pandemic hit, and I realized we had a lot more work to do in terms of helping people understand their minds and how to live on a day-to-day basis and how to create a lifestyle that enhances their mental performance. And so I've shifted out of therapy to help people to better accommodate their brains in the way that they're supposed to operate.
Yeah. What would you say would be like the biggest change that happened when the pandemic hit, like with your business?
I think suddenly everybody realized that mental health really was a thing. It was a problem bubbling under the surface.
It was always there.
It was always there. It's always been a problem. Nothing per se changed during the pandemic except for the pandemic.
Yeah.
And it was suddenly an awareness of, oh, okay, I really do need to be around other people in order to feel good. I really do need to manage this anxiety that I've been dealing with through like hyper productivity, and now I've got nothing to do and my mind is just going nuts, you know?
Yeah.
And so nothing changed except people became very aware, and then therapists were getting burnt out left and right. And so,
wow.
Yeah.
And, this really hits home for me because I had three teenagers and pre-teenagers at home during that time. And I know, like in Las Vegas, the Clark County School District, being one of the largest school districts in the country, saw the highest rise in teen suicide attempts and teen suicides, unfortunately. And the hospitals were overrun, the medical clinics were overrun, because kids were going from, they're used to being in sports, and they're used to being in church events, and they're used to being in school events and extracurricular events, and then going to school. And even when all the kids thought they hated school, they missed all their friends. And then they were being told, not only are you not going to have all this interaction, don't have any personal interaction either.
100%,
and then the kids were getting behind keyboards, and we call them like keyboard terrorists, and they were being mean to each other and picking on each other because they were unhappy with themselves. And we were seeing such a high rise in that. And I witnessed that as a mother.
Yep.
And it was very, very sad. And so it's really near and dear to my heart what you're doing, and that you made that switch, and that you saw the need for that and wanted to fulfill that. And then to bring that into a business level. So that's just talking about on a teen level.
Yeah.
But as a business level, I know a lot of people were like, how do I continue to operate my business? I don't care if am I going to have a job? There were a lot of people being laid off. There were a lot of people being furloughed. There were a lot of people unsure of if they were even going to be able to come back to a career that they had been in for many, many years.
Right.
Were they going to have to get different employment? A lot of financial woes were happening during the time. And now, I think, as you just said, we really see the need for it. We really see the need for everybody of all ages. The mental health is a real thing.
Yes.
And it's funny because if you're sick, if you get a cold, you'll take it off work or maybe a week off work to get better, right?
Thank you. Yes.
But if you have mental health issues, oh no, that's frowned
Absolutely
upon.
not.
Just get up, pull your bootstraps up, and get to work. That's how people
100%.
look at it, right?
Yep, absolutely. And I was raised in a military family where that was definitely the case, where there's no room for weakness, and emotions are kind of just off the table. Like, we don't work in emotions, we work in productivity and showing up for each other. And so these are a lot of the things that I think most American families were also coming to terms with, is spending a lot more time together and having conversations about things that they had never had conversations about. And I actually wanted to go back to your point about the teens, because I think what we realized is what was stripped away from them is exactly what I have built my entire business on. It's what I called the mind fundamentals. And so it's 7 daily habits that if you're practicing them every single day, you're already priming your brain to continue growing and learning and working at its best. And when you're not, you're really increasing your chances of anxiety, depression, having ADHD more impactful in your life, and all of the more distracting mental affects, I guess. So they are movement, intention, nourishment, deep connection, fresh air, unplugging. And again, the more people were stripped of their ability, or teens were stripped of their ability to socialize, they went onto screens, which can be so damaging.
Yes.
Yeah. And I know, just me as a parent going through that ordeal, is a lot of us are, as adults, are not equipped to help our children, but even our employees.
Yes.
Because we were dealing with, employees that couldn't come into the office, or they were at home, or our kid, like my son, like a lot of the sports was canceled.
Yes.
Not only school, but, so they're homeschooling, there's no sports.
Everything.
Yeah. And we really do need more people like you to teach us like how to cope with that.
And that's really my goal and mission, is to work only with business owners, business leaders, and parents, just anybody who has a level of influence, because as a marriage and family therapist, we're trained to teach, or to treat our clients systemically, right? So we don't see mental illness as a problem that just manifests. It's not just problematic thinking. It's a reaction of the ways that you're taught to live and the systems that surround you. So whether it's your family, your social circles, your work employees and coworkers, your religion, your personal culture, there's all of these things that influence the way that you think and the way that you're taught is appropriate to think. And to shift that is what's going to impact the lower levels, I guess. So in a hierarchy of a family, the parents really have to understand what they're doing and how that influences the children. And so in the pandemic specifically, a lot of people were saying, okay, I see these symptoms of anxiety in my children and I have no idea how to manage it. And as a marriage and family therapist, I really didn't enjoy working with children until I could also impact the parents and teach them, I need you to uphold these new rules and learnings within your home, or this is not going to work. That's why
it's really hard to see, right?
Yeah.
It's like really hard to detect that the
well,
kids
and
are
even
having
as a
issues.
business owner, because as a business owner, it's the same thing. I mean, Daryl and I
Yes.
always joke, like, we're the mom and dad to our team, and, I would say our baby birds. But as a business owner, because I know when the pandemic first hit, the office that we worked at, they said, nobody come into the office, because the governor had put restrictions on people coming into the office. And we did that for what, Daryl, a week or two? And I think we were the first team, we were the first real estate agents to come back into that building.
I never missed a day. I think I was there every
No, we said, we're definitely coming back in, because for me, it was like torture. I'm a social butterfly. My bucket gets filled by people and their energy. So if you try to take that away from me, I think I was home for a week and working from home for a week, and you try to take that away from me, and I was like depressed, and I'm not a person who ever deals with depression,
can't work
ever.
from home.
So I was like, wait a second. Is this what it's like to either be a stay-at-home mom? Nothing against stay-at-home moms, but for me, it's just not something I could do. Or is this how it's like to be retired? Nothing against retired people, but for me, it's just not something I could do. I was like, I need to get back in the office. It was a week, and I was like, this is
You're also
death.
20 years old, so.
Yeah. So I was like, okay, wait. I need to get out of the house. I need to have people over. I need to be doing dinners and parties and things like that. I need my bucket fulfilled. And your mental illness can manifest in so many different ways. And I've seen it come out in anger in some people. I've seen it come out in sadness. I've seen it come out in boredom or lack of motivation or lack of determination. And we need these little, and it all comes down to these little daily habits that we need to do day in and day out to know that we feel fulfilled with what we're doing.
Absolutely.
And it's so important. And that I really believe is the key to success. Just like if you're working out, you couldn't just work out one day a week. You had to work out 5 days a week to have an impact, right? So it's working out your brain mentally as well.
One thing that I have a hard time wrapping my head around, maybe you can talk about it, is when these kids do, unfortunately commit suicide. Like kids, which is still, I have a really hard time wrapping my head around that. You always hear that no one saw this, like, I didn't see that, like, I never thought in a million years that they would do that.
Right.
And I, unfortunately, in my own family have had suicide. So same thing. I had no idea. I've had friends, I've had family members. Can you talk about, is there stuff that we should look for?
Yeah, signs. What are the signs, Lindsey? Help us.
That's a really good question, and I'm going to get really personal here, which I don't typically do, but I think it's an important question. I'm a survivor of suicide, and so identify with how you can get to that breaking point.
Yeah.
I've been a really high achiever my entire life, and I think even if I say it now, I'm starting to be more open about it, but people don't see that in me. And even in the times when it was happening, people would have never guessed it. I was always a really high achiever. I had everything going for me. It's exactly
they would have
that
never guessed
story.
that you were having those thoughts.
That I was having those thoughts, or even I called in sick the day I attempted suicide. I called in as a manager on the hospitality strip. I worked in Las Vegas on the strip, obviously. And people would have never guessed. And as I'm telling it now, 10 years later, no, I think they would have been like, what do you mean Lindsey did that? Like, never in a million
people
years.
don't
sick,
see it.
I just like, okay, I hope you get better. Like,
I said I had food poisoning. I didn't tell them I was like overcoming an overdose. So it's an important conversation. What to look for, it can be really difficult because it typically is really high achievers, and people with depression are really great at feeling as though their problem is causing guilt to other people, so they won't share it with.
They hide it.
Yeah.
Yes, so they get great at hiding, but find any sense of like isolation. People often look for a decrease in productivity or a decrease in motivation, and sometimes, like you said, it doesn't manifest that way. So I did a reel recently about like the ways that people describe depression in ways that you might hear and not think is what they're talking about. And they might not even recognize it's what they're talking about. So things like, I just feel like I'm in a black hole, or my brain's being such an asshole right now. Sorry, I don't know if we can cuss.
No, you can cuss.
Okay, cool. I'm like in this gray cloud. So it's almost like they even recognize that it's not them. They often talk about it as though it's like a separate object that's interfering with them. So that, I think, is a good thing to look for.
Putting the blame on exterior forces.
Yeah.
And I think that what's important to note too is that there are, and by no means am I an expert, and I'm not a family therapist or any kind of therapist at all, but I do know that there are different types of depression. There can be situational depression, like something is happening right now. You don't suffer your whole life. Yep. And then there can be depression that you do suffer your whole life, and and generalized, and you're going to deal with that. So you need to look at situational depression. And I'll get very personal here too. This is a very, very important topic to me because I was married very young. I was married at just turned 19 years old, was married a boy next door that I loved, was married until I was 22. My husband was about 5 years older than me. Great guy, loved him, but I'm never a person who typically has ever suffered from depression. I just thought you just wake up every day and you're happy and you go on. And if you had a bad day yesterday, it's okay. Today's a new day and la, la, la. Well, when I was 22, my husband lost his life to depression, lost his battle to depression.
I'm so sorry.
And so I was a widow, very, very young, and I didn't understand it. And everybody said to me, why didn't you see it coming? And as a survivor of somebody who has committed suicide, you think I should have seen all the signs, but I didn't see it. I will say I was 22. I'm definitely not the woman that I was when I was 22. I was so young, and I just thought everything, and we had everything going for us. We had a house, and we were married, and we had money, and we had cars, and we had careers. And I was like, we're living the perfect life that you're supposed to, storybook. But I didn't understand how depression looked, and I didn't understand how depression manifests. And even back then, I mean, we're near looking at about 18, 19 years ago. Like 19 years ago, men didn't talk about depression. They didn't talk about mental health. Mm-hmm. Men were supposed to just be tough and you don't talk about it. It was just not common as it's getting today, and it's not even really fully commonplace right now.
Because we feel like it's a sign of weakness.
Yeah, and so it's like men aren't supposed to talk about it. So
men are still dying at the number one cause of death between men in ages 35 to 65 is suicide.
Wow.
Really?
So we're still not talking about it enough.
Yeah, and that's what I want to mention, and that's why I even brought home my personal story, which I very rarely talk about. Thank you. But very rarely talk about because I think it needs to be heard. And I think that everybody can be a victim of depression at times, or need to deal with things because it can be situational. But I didn't understand how that manifests, and being so young, and I didn't know we should have pushed him towards a counselor or a therapist, or maybe even take medication. It's like if you're sick, you would go and get medication. Right. If you're mentally sick, you should be able to do that too. And I know has had such a negative connotation over so many years. Mm-hmm. So I want to talk a little bit about that. Let's talk about men, because I think men and women deal with different depression issues 100%. And also different pressures right now. Society, social media, ourselves, that we put on ourselves and say, this is the way that we're supposed to be. We're supposed to have this perfect life. So let's talk about men at first. And Daryl, I'm gonna kick this off to you. But as a high achieving male, someone who has a beautiful wife and a beautiful family. I'm sure you feel the pressures day in and day out to continue to be a high achiever every single day, to continue to make your family happy, to provide for your family, to be a good dad, to be a good husband, to be a good business partner, to be a good realtor, to be amazing at everything, to be Superman. Do you have an S on your chest? Talk to us about the pressures that men might feel in somebody in your shoes who you look beautiful, you're dressed amazing.
Oh, thank you.
But the pressures that you might feel as a man out there just trying to live your life daily. And a lot of people probably don't come to you and say, Daryl, how are you today?
We were just talking about that before we started about, I think social media has put a lot of pressure to keep up with the so-called
Joneses.
people that are killing it.
Yeah.
And really they're not.
Yep.
I think that's number one. I a while ago got caught up in that. And thank God I had good mentors around me that noticed that and were like, look, dude, relax.
Yeah.
It's not, so really I think we do have pressures, especially when you are a business owner and you're
to be a provider, to be strong, to be the strength of the family.
And I think one of the answers is you got to surround yourself with good people.
I love that.
You got to have good mentors around you that can keep you grounded and that can watch out for you, so to speak.
Absolutely.
And if you don't have that, which for a lot of years I didn't, and I was allowed to go down the wrong path for a very long time.
Yeah.
And it got me into a lot of trouble. Didn't have the people around me guiding me correctly. Yep. And you can really get yourself into a really dark hole real quick if you don't have those people around you.
I agree.
So my life is so much different today. I do have a lot of good people that have beat some sense into me and
supported
I've learned a lot
you.
of hard lessons. Yeah. And it's the whole situational thing we're talking about is so true because I've never been one that I thought was depressed. I never, I've always been very highly motivated. I've always been a business owner ever since I was a kid. I was mowing lawns when I was 10 years old for money. And, that's just the way I've always been. But, there have been some times in my life where that S word has, kind of come up. It's like you feel
overwhelmed.
Lost. Like,
yes. Yeah. I was also going to talk about that if I can just interject about there's the foundation of how this even happens, right? And I think that we don't have enough education around that foundation. So I think when suicide creeps up, it's a lack of emotional mastery. So it feels like you're in emotional overwhelm and then a lack of impulse control. So, and especially for men, you're really taught to feed on your impulses or to not slow down and calm yourself in the moment. Or, even that anger or sadness is or fear is an acceptable emotion. Yeah. All of our emotions are here to serve us a really important purpose. And if you hit an emotion that you've been taught since literally you're an infant and you're like, boys don't cry. Men are just taught very, very differently than women about impulse control and emotional mastery. And those are the two things that when a suicide ideation hits, if they're not very well groomed, then you're looking at, disaster and death.
And I'll share something personal too. Before I was a realtor, I owned a pretty large construction company, masonry company, and I owned that for about 10 years. And that came to an end May of 2001. But I was also married young when I was 19, and around the same time I got a divorce.
We're all in the early, you're not divorcee club, but early married. And
now I'm happily married, been with my wife now for 14 years. But going back when I lost the masonry company, my wife left me. I didn't know where my next check was going to come from. I was in a really bad
life was
spot.
kicking you.
Yeah. And my dad left when I was very young. I was raised by my mom. He was still in my life, but he was across the country and really wasn't in my life. So I was, raised by my mom. And if you don't have your dad there, father figure, teaching you
exactly
how to be strong and how to, I don't know, my mom was always a great mom, told me, taught me how to love and how to be caring and, but I was missing the male part.
Absolutely.
And so those are tools I needed to get through that moment.
Yep,
and
exactly.
I got through. I didn't obviously commit suicide, but I was really God, this is what it must feel like because I felt like
hopeless,
despair. I didn't know what do I do?
It's like craziness, right?
Yeah.
Like your brain
and I had
just
really
goes
good
crazy.
friends,
great
friends who I still have today, who really helped me through it. Thank God. But I can imagine if I was in that spot and I didn't have any friends and I didn't have any family.
Yeah.
I probably would do it. I mean,
another great statistic, isolation is a higher predictor of early death than smoking a pack of cigarettes per day.
Wow.
So that what you're saying is also really important. Like the lone wolf mentality that is kind of like driven into men in a lot of like the social media, like money mindset masters and all of that is a crock of shit for what men actually need to be successful. You need mentors. You need people to constantly 100%. Be learning for. You have to constantly be actively like challenging yourself to find that support.
100%.
And
well, and I think that's why you see a lot of truly highly successful, generally it's men, but you see a lot of truly highly successful people at the top of their field, at the top of their game, and they feel alone and they feel lost and they feel hopeless and despair. And sometimes they'll take their own lives because they've achieved everything that society's told them to achieve, but they feel lonely. And so that's something I want to talk about. And I want to talk about this not only from the male perspective, but also from the female perspective. So we are taught in society that if you're a mother, you need to be a great mother. You need to be a great spouse. You need to keep your body in shape because God forbid you put on 5 pounds,
Absolutely
right? No,
not.
you can't do that. You have to always look good at all times. You got to take care of your household. And then if you want to have equality, then you need to be a high net worth trainer and teacher and earner as well, right? So it's take care of your husband, take care of your kids, take care of yourself, take care of the household. Oh yeah, and then if you have some time, maybe sleep. And so there's so many pressures where it's like we are supposed to be all things, and a lot of that is actually celebrated out there. Like women, you should do everything and do all things, and I think that that's BS, and I'll tell you why. So a lot of people have looked at me that way because for a woman, I'm one of the top women in real estate in Las Vegas. I think I might be ranked like the top woman in real estate right now. And it's hard because people ask me all the time. I'm also a mother of 3. I've also been married to my husband for 17 years. And people will say to me, well, how do you do it all? Oh my gosh, you're superwoman. And people tell me that all the time. And I always tell them I am not superwoman. And let me tell you why. I am not afraid to ask for help.
Yes.
And let me repeat that.
Oh, you're a great delegator.
Yes, I am not afraid to ask for help. And so let me tell you my key to any success, and I don't just mean financial success, but I mean any success in my life. And look, we all struggle. Like we're going to get to that in a second. But I'm not afraid to ask for help. I have a lot of leverage. I have the same nanny that I've had for 14 years. She's the 3rd parent in my household, and it takes 3 of us. Like it takes a village to raise your family. It takes a village to raise. She's amazing. She's like a grandmother to my kids. I have a housekeeper. I have a personal assistant. Daryl and I have team assistants. We have videographers. We have social media managers and marketing directors. We have staff. We have agents. So I have a lot of leverage. I have a lot of help. I also have very independent children. I also, this is just my choice, but from the time my husband and I got married, I never did his laundry. Never have done it once. Probably will never have done it. I, chose what I'm willing to do. He does his own laundry. I do my own laundry. That's just the way that the household works. I have a supportive husband that has allowed me to support and build my business over the years that I needed to build for the time that it took to build it. And so
you couldn't do it without it.
Yeah. And I am not superwoman. I want to make that very, very clear because I think comparison is the killer of joy. And we all as people compare ourselves to somebody else. Oh, well, Lindsay's hair looks great. My hair should look better. Oh, this one's taller. I should be skinnier. This one's killing it. This one's on vacation with her family. This one made dinner tonight and I brought home Taco Bell. Like we all are comparing ourselves. And so we can't do that. And we have to know what is portrayed out there. Nobody puts out there their losses.
100%.
Very, very, very rare.
Yeah.
So what's portrayed out there is not the full picture. It might be part of the picture, and celebrate the wins for your friends. When they're posting a beautiful vacation, you don't know if 5 minutes ago they were screaming in the hotel room and now they're posting the pictures because they're sitting on the beach with a margarita, right? So celebrate the wins for your people, but know that there's also losses always behind that. Know that that's reality. And I think by us having the real picture, and that's why I share my struggles and my life and also my leverage, because people think, oh, I have it all together. Oh, I'm struggling like everybody. We're all struggling out there.
Yeah.
That's definitely something that I'm teaching my clients consistently is like the more you can learn to delegate, because that is a learned habit, right?
Yeah.
Like it's really hard to start telling other people how to do things exactly the way that you want them done.
Well, it's a control thing.
Yeah.
We want to keep control.
And that's a whole other conversation, right?
Yeah.
Like, let them be creative in the way that they do it, and then opens you up to all kinds of opportunities. But being able to delegate to others, I think, is a struggle with a lot of my clients, or finding it a worthwhile investment to invest in hiring other people. And it's something that I'm constantly pushing into my clients. The more you utilize help, it takes time to make time. It takes money to make time. And these are all things that are going to help you be more productive and feel better in the long run. Yeah. And you're providing jobs for other people. So this is all a win-win, right?
For sure.
But I'm really glad that you brought that up, because I hope my clients are listening and see, Jillian Batchelor says she has an entire team. And this is how
and I always say this is what it takes to make
operate.
Jillian run. And I'll tell you this. I always thought, because we do live a very busy household in my family. And I thought the last thing I want to do when I'm off is to be vacuuming. I mean, I'm kind of a nut with that, so I do vacuum every day. But the last thing I want to do is be, scrubbing the walls, scrubbing baseboards, vacuuming, mopping. When that little bit of time that I have needs to be spent with my family. That little bit of time needs to be spent focusing on my religion. And one thing that I suffered for many years is I didn't focus anything on my internal health. Mm-hmm. So I would always joke, like, I've never been into a gym. I don't even know what a gym looks like. If I walked into the gym, it'd probably burn down. And I just got a gym membership. And because I'm about to be 40 I'm about to be 40, you guys, in 13 days. So I was like, okay, I'm going to get myself in shape. But the last 2 years, I've really focused on my physical health, which has also helped me with my mental health, getting myself up, walking daily. I'll walk 3 to 5 miles a day. And then sometimes I'll go to the gym and walk, and I'll get 2 workouts in a day. But I wasn't like that. For very many years, I sacrificed myself because, again, we as women are told we should sacrifice ourselves.
To take care of everybody
family
else
first, put your business first, put your clients first, put your dogs first, put your husband first, whatever order, and then you come last. And I did that, and I was in that trap for very many years. And people looked at me and thought I had my whole life together. In some parts, we're doing great, but I wasn't focusing on my physical health.
That's an easy way to burn out. And,
yes.
Oh, for sure.
And then you don't do anybody any justice.
Yeah, and
unhappy.
And you sacrifice your sleep. I mean, that's another one.
And you're sacrificing the longevity of your life in the long run, right? Like, if you're not prioritizing your health and your movement and your sleep, these are all things that are going to contribute to potential opportunities for, like, heart attacks, Alzheimer's disease, stroke, all of the things that we as Americans have the highest rates of in the world, because we work ourselves this way. So I'm glad that you are seeing the correlation between prioritizing yourself.
It only took 40 years, guys.
There you go.
40 years.
It's never too late to start, though.
So, I mean, I just think it's really important, and I want to make sure people know, like, every single person that you see, some of my most highly successful friends, and I have friends that are billionaires with a B, they deal with the same stress that we deal with. So people always think money makes it easier. Money provides opportunity, but it doesn't always make things easier. It provides opportunity. Yep. And with opportunity, you can leverage help, which is great.
Doesn't hurt.
Doesn't hurt. Definitely doesn't hurt. But I think that I just want everyone to know we all deal with the same stress. We all are worried, what do we make for dinner tonight? Unless you have a personal chef, you're all worried, what do you make for dinner tonight? Yeah. We're all stressed out about what our bodies look like naked. We're all stressed out on if we should color our hair. We're all stressed out on, did we make the right financial investment? Are we giving enough time to our kids? Are we spending enough time with our spouse? Are we being intimate enough, not just physically, but even mentally with the people in our lives? Are we being good friends? We all struggle from the same things. So I want people to know that, because I think a lot of people feel alone. They feel, I'm the only one dealing with this. All of my friends have a perfect life.
Yes.
All of my friends' husbands love their wives so much, and my husband's ignoring me. All of my friends have perfect bodies, and I'm eating a burger. All of my friends have their businesses all together, and I'm just trying to figure out QuickBooks. I mean, we all struggle from the same things, right?
Yes, that's actually how I got into this business. Is when I was becoming a therapist, my husband was still a casino executive on the Strip, and he was a whale hunter, they call them. So he would only work with $1 million clients and above. And these people who are like movie stars and some of the richest people in the world that I had idolized my entire life, not only were committing suicide and dying from overdoses, but they were like severely depressed. And then you're getting to know them on a personal level, because that's what a casino host does. And I'm there to like meet him and his wife or her and her husband. And they were struggling just like any other person that I knew. And I was like, this is not what I thought being rich and wealthy and successful looked like. And if that's what everybody's aspiring to, then we've got to start our work from the top and start working with these people, because they have so much influence that they don't recognize. People are always looking up to what the Joneses are doing, right? And so my goal is to make sure that the Joneses are living in the way that you're learning to in your lifestyle right now, and making it as simple habitual lifestyle through my coaching.
I just had an idea for like a show.
Yeah.
We should get the most important, most talented people and just talk about their issues.
Oh, yeah. I mean, but good luck getting them to do
If they'd be
that.
willing
they
to
won't
do
do
it,
it,
right?
but that'd be great.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I just think it's really important that people know that there are resources for help. Be willing to ask for help. Be willing to reach out, be willing to leverage. And it can be as little as, like some people might say to me, but Jillian, I can't afford a housekeeper. Jillian, I can't afford a personal assistant. Jillian, I can't afford this. But you can leverage things. You can leverage maybe some teenage kids in the neighborhood to just mop your floors or cut your grass or, clean your pool. I mean, there's little things, unless it's something you enjoy. If you enjoy cleaning your pool and that's therapeutic for you, then do it because that is what you enjoy. But if it's something you don't enjoy, like I hate doing laundry. So I had for many years my nanny do my laundry, and
Me too.
and I have my kids do it, and
it's
all
a
those things.
time sucker.
It is a time sucker. But if you enjoy it, do it.
But if your time's best spent with your kids or
Yeah.
in your business or whatever it is, then really what you're paying for is time.
Yeah.
You got to stop looking at it like, oh, I'm paying this person $12 an hour.
Yeah.
No, you're not.
You're paying to buy that
yourself
time. Yeah.
to have more time with
And
what
this-
you want to do.
The same applies with asking for help, right? If coaching feels too astronomically high, but you're like willing to go buy purses or go experience
Starbucks.
fine dining or Starbucks, I know that's like the go-to, but like
It sure adds
once you
up.
decide, it does. Once you decide that you're worth investing in the way that you think and the way that you feel,
Yeah.
that's an entire mindset shift over what you have and what you're showing to other people.
Oh, a life change.
Like it's the same amount of money. It's just you've decided that you're worthy of it.
I did
you know?
go through a whole entire year not buying any Starbucks.
He did.
Really?
2000.
So he
2018.
decided.
I don't
he was
know that
gonna
I
make a
could do
life
that.
change, which he did. And I mean, this
I
guy,
made such a
this guy's
change.
amazing. But I want to go back to that coaching because I think that's really important, Lindsay. I think that people, especially us as women, but again, I don't want to pick on men, but us as women, we think, oh, I can't spend that money on myself. I need to spend it on my
exactly.
kids. I need to spend it on my husband. I need to spend it on my household or decorating or groceries or something. And they think, especially if you're a stay-at-home mom, I see this with my stay-at-home mom
Yes.
girlfriends all the time. They
Oh,
think,
my
don't
wife
have
is-
income.
is the same thing.
oh yeah, your wife's exactly the same. Like she thinks like, I'm going to paraphrase, but like, I don't deserve it. I'll spend it on my kid. I'll spend it on my
She
husband.
has a hard time spending
And
money on
instead of
herself.
thinking like, no, I do deserve it.
Yeah.
Just because I'm a stay-at-home wife does not make me less
Absolutely
than.
deserves
It makes me an equal
Probably
partner.
deserves it even more.
Yeah, probably. Yeah, because the level of stress is different, right?
Yeah,
So I think that
absolutely.
it's important for all of our listeners to. I don't care if you got a side hustle. I don't care if you're a stay-at-home wife. I don't care if you're an entrepreneur, women. You're on the top of your field. I don't care if you're a doctor. I mean, I have girlfriends and that are stay-at-home wives and love that and have 6 kids, and I have girlfriends that are judges and have never had a kid, and we're all equal. You know what?
Yeah, 100.
Doesn't make a difference. And I have women that are married and not married and will be mothers and will never be mothers. And we're all equal. We all have stresses. They can be different. And that's fine because we're all created differently. But you have to find time, I'd be like, to really, I call it check yourself. Look in the mirror and say, what's important to me? What am I missing? What am I lacking? What do I need to do to feel healthy and successful? And successful, again, we're not talking money, guys.
Right.
Successful is just happiness.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, it's the same. Hey, same with girls and guys. Like guys, I'm the same thing. I do everything for everybody else. I don't do for me.
Right.
I don't take care of myself. I don't go to the gym like I should. I don't take time to, buy myself anything. Like
You need my coaching, Daryl.
You have to, right? I know.
I'm
But
seeing
trust me, I've
coaching
been
in
through a
our
lot of
future.
coaching.
No, we definitely, and I think we can all work on coaching. And that's the other thing I want to mention. So I've had some girlfriends lately that are all super beautiful women, physically beautiful, mentally beautiful, spiritually beautiful, highly successful women. And we've been talking lately in our group chats. We have a group chat and we're talking about therapy. And we're like, we all need therapy. Let's all get a therapist and just talk out our issues and grow because it's about self-growth, right?
Yeah.
So that's like coaching. I think we all need coaching.
Yes.
We all need therapy. Every single person. I think we can all get better. We all need introspective self-reflection on a daily basis on how we grow.
Yeah.
And because we all have it, everybody has issues.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And you can really get deep and start talking about codependency and
Oh yeah.
like
Attachment.
from when
and-
when you're young. Where that, God, it's crazy how deep
sure.
you can go.
Definitely. There's levels to this, right? Like it's very much like an onion. But you mentioned therapy, and I think a lot of people do ask, like, why would you transition from a therapist to a coach?
Yeah, tell us that.
And so,
What's the difference?
Yeah, what is the difference for somebody who doesn't know?
Look, my education is the same. I have the same education as a licensed therapist. I was going through the licensure process when I decided it was very limiting. Basically, licensure affords you the opportunity to be paneled by insurance boards. And I personally don't love insurance for actually taking care of people. It has become the gold standard for how we take care of mental health. And I think it's the biggest bottleneck to actually helping mental health. It forces you to diagnose on the first session, which I don't think is absolutely necessary.
No.
It can be detrimental.
Can you really?
Yeah, I mean, yes. Well, you have to, because then it determines how many sessions you get.
Oh, wow, yeah.
And so there's just a lot of limitations in coaching. I have the exact same education. I'm just able to help more people outside of state lines and within corporations, and
what
not
better
having
coach
to worry
to have
about,
that was a therapist. I mean, hey.
Yeah.
Doesn't sound like it gets any better like that.
double whammy.
So, Lindsey, really quick before we wrap up, because we have a few more minutes left, if somebody wants to reach out to you, if they want to get in touch with you, if they think, hey, I might need some coaching, I might need some mindset shifting,
Mind performance
coaching.
Yep.
How do I reach you, and what do I do, and what does that process look like?
Yeah, absolutely. So you can go to lindseypaoli.com, LINDSEYPAOLI.com, and you can see all of my information there. I do everything from corporate speaking to corporate training, business consulting, one-on-one coaching. There are surveys and forms there for you. You can sign up for my newsletter, and I give you new weekly habits and tips every single week.
What number do they call?
They can call 702-754-8798, or follow me on my Instagram. It's Lindsey_Paoli.
Nice.
Lindsey, if there's any last little tidbits or tricks or red flags or anything that you think we should know that you think is really, really important, help us. Give it to us.
The mind fundamentals. It all comes down to the way that you live every single day. So incorporating that movement, intention, nourishment, deep connections, fresh air, unplugging, and learning.
I love that. And I really look at that. I heard one thing that, and everything's going to stand out differently to different people, but one of the things that I heard you really say that stood out to me was deep connections. Deep connections are how I feel fulfilled. Now, Daryl might pick up something else and somebody else might pick up something else, but deep connections, I think that really comes down to who you allow in your life, what situations you put yourself in. Are you allowing good things in your life, bad things in your life? And the people around you. Mm-hmm. And the people around you need to build you up and not tear you down. So I don't care if that's family. I don't care if it's your spouse. I don't care if it's your kids. I don't care. And I'm not saying just cut them off, because that could be toxic too. Mm-hmm. Work through it with them. Have open lines of communication. Go to somebody and say,
communication.
Partner, you did this and it hurt
something.
me. And then you say, I'm sorry I hurt you. That was not my intention. Let me fix it. Give people the chance to fix hurts that they may have given you, because maybe they don't even know. They might not even know what they did to you. So give people the chance. Partner, if I ever hurt you, I will fix it. Okay. I love your face.
Thank you.
Lindsey, we are so happy to have you on our show. Daryl, is there anything else you want to wrap us up with?
No, just thank you for coming in.
Thank you so much.
It's a very important
this has been incredible
topic.
Yeah,
this is really great. So you guys, we're going to look into doing some coaching. We're all going to become better. Let's all be not afraid to ask for help. And that also means look at coaching. Look at therapy. Ask for help, what you need in your life, and
communicate. Open your mouth. Don't be afraid
to
talk.
Just ask for help. Yeah. That's like the hardest thing. But once you do that, it's like going to the gym. Once you open the door, it's all downhill from there. It's easy.
I love it. Absolutely. I was very intimidated about going to the gym. I hadn't been in the gym in like 10 years. And I even had a girlfriend take me the first time, and I'm like, wait, I'm confused. What do I do? And then I reached out to some of the guys that I knew that went to the gym, and I'm like, okay, tell me about this. And now I can go and on my own, and I'm alone, and I'm there, and I'm doing my thing. And it's great.
Once you get the skills.
Yep. All right, you guys. Well, again, this is Jillian Batchelor and
Daryl Hannah.
And we're with Vegas Real Talk. And we thank you for joining us today and hope to see you on our next show. See you soon.